What is up, guys? Welcome to this video. So this is the first video of my 25 days of Flutter tutorial series. And what this series is I will be uploading one Flutter tutorial video per day for the first 25 days of December. And the idea is we'll start with the Flutter basics and work our way to create a full Flutter app. So I'm on the website for this 25-day series. Right now it is not live, so this is on my local host, but it will be live by the time you are watching this video, and it will be accessible at flutter25.com. So this site has everything you will need to know about the course. So in this video, I'm going to look at this site, go over the course, and then we're going to finish the video off by actually installing Flutter onto your machine. First, let's look a little bit about what the course is and what it offers. So essentially, this course is best for beginners. As you can see, it is beginner friendly. We will finish by building a complete Flutter app. There is open source code for each video, and each video is of high quality in terms of the video, audio, and information. So what this course does not offer, as you can see, there's only one thing, and that is super advanced Flutter concepts. So if you are already familiar with Flutter, you're pretty good at it, maybe intermediate level or advanced, this course is probably not for you. This course is meant for somebody who either A, has never interacted with Flutter before, or B, has a little experience with it, but really wants to firm up their knowledge and dive even deeper. So if you don't know whether or not this course is for you, in a moment when I go over the course content, you should be able to decide. So here I have all of the 25 videos listed in order. So they are 100% free and available on my YouTube channel. But if you would like to support me, you can pay what you want via Gumroad. So go to this link here and you can pay $5 or more to support me. So if you choose to do that, that money supports my channel and allows me to upload videos and tutorials like this. Alright, so now let's dive into what each one of these videos will be about. So as you can see, the first video, which is what we are doing right now, we're going to take a look at what Flutter is, and then we're going to set up a Flutter development environment on your machine. Next, we're going to take a look at Dart programming, and then after that, we are going to look specifically at Flutter. So we're going to take a look at Flutter widgets. We're going to take a look at how to build layouts, how to make custom widgets, and so on. And I'm not going to go over all of them, but I'll just scroll down so you guys can see what each one of these videos has to offer. Alright, there we go. So those are the 25 videos. And then down here we have further reading. So if you're in the middle of this series, or you finished and you want to know where to go after to continue expanding your knowledge on Flutter, these will be the links you can check out. So right now there are only two links, the Flutter documentation and the GitHub code for this series, but as we progress through, I will add more links to this. And then here is just my bio, so if you want to learn more about me, feel free to visit my personal website or check out my YouTube channel, which you are probably watching on right now. Alright, so that is an overview of the 25 days of Flutter website. So now let's look at what Flutter is and set up a Flutter environment on your machine. So I'm on the Flutter website right now, and as you can see, it is by Google. So we'll take a deeper look at exactly what Flutter is and what it has to offer, but basically Flutter is just a mobile app framework that allows us to develop cross-platform applications. So traditionally, if you want to develop an app, you would have to develop that app for iOS and then develop that app again separately for Android. So you would have two code bases, two different languages, and twice the work. Flutter allows you to have one code base and deploy that app on both iOS and Android. So I encourage you to scroll down this site, read a little more about what Flutter is and what it has to offer. In this video, though, we are going to be looking at the docs. So up here, I can open up the documentation. And these docs are great. This is a great resource that you're going to want to have. As you can see on the left, there are a bunch of different tabs. So we have our Getting Started tab, we have a bunch of samples and tutorials, and then we also have a bunch of development tabs here. So the UI, the data and backend, and a bunch of other stuff. So we're going to go through all of this in this tutorial series, starting with this first video where we are going to take a look at the Getting Started tab. So we're going to finish out this video by doing step 1 and step 2. So we're going to install Flutter, and then we're going to set up an editor so we can develop on our local machine. So if I hit Getting Started, we are brought to this page here. So you're going to want to select the operating system that you are on. So I am on a Mac, so that is the operating system I am going to install this on. If you're on a Windows, the process is very similar, so you can follow along with me and just make the small adjustments as needed. Alright, so here is the Mac OS install page. So you can go through this and install Flutter, but I'm actually going to be referencing this article here. This is an article that I wrote a couple months ago, and it is essentially this Mac OS install page, just condensed into the main parts. So we talked about what Flutter is. It is built by Google, and it is a UI toolkit for building native applications for both mobile, web, and desktop. So that's right, it does work for the web as well, but in this tutorial series, we're only going to be focusing on the mobile aspect, which is what it is primarily used for. Like I mentioned, Flutter apps are built using the Dart programming language. We'll get more into that in the next video. So the first step to installing Flutter on our machine is to download the Flutter SDK. So we can do that on their website. So if you open this link, it will just bring us to this install page. So once again, click your operating system. I'm using Mac OS. So here is the Flutter SDK. So you're going to want to go ahead and click on that to download it. We'll jump back into our article here. So we need to now unzip this folder and move it somewhere more permanent. So right now, this is just in my downloads folder. And that's not really safe because I could accidentally clear that out or delete it or move it, and then Flutter will not work. So we want to move this to a more permanent location on our machine. So I'm going to open this up in my Finder, and it is still downloading, so we will wait for that to download. While we are waiting for that, let's open up another window. You're going to notice one folder here called Developer. So I already have Flutter installed on my machine, so you can see that here. So essentially what you're going to want to do is create a folder. It can be called whatever you want to call it. I would recommend Developer or something along those lines. And then we're going to move this download into this folder and unzip it. And if I open up this Flutter, this is just the code that allows Flutter to run on your machine. So it will allow us to develop and run apps. All right, so here is the download. So let's take this, and once you create your developer folder, go ahead and drop that zip file into there. And then go ahead and double click to unzip it. All right, there we go. So now we have this folder called Flutter 2. That's because I already have it installed already, but yours should just say Flutter. So once you do that, you can go ahead and delete that zip file. We don't need that anymore. And you should be left with your Flutter folder. All right, so now this should look exactly like what you have. A folder, maybe called Developer or whatever you named it, and then your Flutter folder with all of the Flutter files. Let's go ahead, we can close both of those out. So the final step is to tell our machine where to find these files. So go ahead and open up a terminal window. And what we want to do is open up this file here, bash profile. So go ahead, copy this command, vim.bash_profile, and I'll hit enter. And you should see nothing in there, or you might see some stuff depending on if you've edited this file before. But if you've never opened this file, you don't know what this is, good chances are that there will be nothing in here. And that's fine. What we want to do is add this line. So as you can see, I already have it here because, like I said, I had Flutter installed already. So you're going to want to write this exact thing. Export path equals quotation marks /users / and then instead of BJ Carlson, you want to put the name of your Mac user and then / the name of the folder you created. So I named my developer. You might have named yours something else. Make sure to write that name. And then /Flutter, that's the folder we downloaded. And then /bin. And if we go back to the Finder window and open up this Flutter folder, you'll see that bin is a folder inside of there. And then end it with this $path. Once you have that, we want to quit and save that. So we're going to want to type $WQ and then enter. And that will save your changes. So after you do this, you're going to want to exit out of that terminal and then open the terminal back up. And it's important that you exit out of it, otherwise this terminal window will not recognize Flutter. So once you open up a new terminal, we can make sure that everything was installed correctly. So to do that, we can run flutter -- version, and you should get a version of Flutter. All right, here we go. So as you can see, I have Flutter 1.20.4. So it looks like everything was installed correctly. And if we go back to the install page from the official Flutter docs, we did all of this. So they run the command flutter doctor to make sure that's working. So we can do that as well. Go ahead and paste that in. And this command will just do a check on Flutter and make sure everything's installed correctly. So install Xcode. So this is to allow us to develop on an iOS emulator or an iOS simulator. So you can only install Xcode on a Mac. So if you don't have a Mac, you can skip this part. You'll just have to set up Android Studio and set up an Android emulator and test your Flutter apps on that. But that's okay because, like I said, Flutter is cross-platform, so you can do that. So to install Xcode, you're going to want to simply go into your App Store, search for Xcode, and install it. And then once you do that, you're going to want to copy this and paste that into your terminal. All right, so once you have that installed, we can open up an Xcode simulator. So to open that up, you're going to want to copy this command here, open-a simulator. And that should open up an iOS simulator. There we go. As you can see, my simulator popped up here on the left. All right, so that was how to set up your Xcode simulator. Pretty easy. So the next thing they are prompting us to do is to create and run a simple Flutter app. So let's go ahead and do that and test this simulator out. In our terminal, you're going to want to move into a folder where you're going to store an app. So the command to create a Flutter app is flutter create, and then it takes in a name. So we'll just name this my app, just like they have in the docs. And as you can see, we have one connected device, and that is this device here. So after we install that, we're going to cd into that app. If I list everything out, we see the files that it created for us. We're not going to look at these today. That will be in the third video. So what I want to do now is just run this app on my device to make sure everything's working. So the command for that is flutter run. And this will take a little bit of time to launch our app onto this device. So I'll be back when this finishes. Okay, and there we go. So as you can see on the right here, it compiled our app and it deployed it to our iPhone 12 Pro Max simulator, which is right over here. The important thing here is that the app is running successfully on our iOS simulator. So if you had an error in any of these steps, feel free to leave a comment on this video and I will see if I can help you out. So I'm going to go ahead and close my simulator. And the next thing that we're going to do, so we're going to skip, this is deploying to your actual iOS device. We're not going to be doing that in this tutorial series. We're just going to be working on the simulators. But if you want to deploy to your actual iPhone, you can. All you need to do is connect your iPhone to your computer and then go through these steps. So next up is the Android setup. So this is the same thing, but instead of running on an iOS simulator, we'll be running on an Android emulator. So just like we used Xcode for iOS, we need to install Android Studio for Android. And then the first link should be the download. So go ahead and download that. You can download it for Mac or Windows, and then run through the setup wizard for that. And then once you have that installed, we can go ahead and set up our Android emulator. So once again, we're skipping these steps to run on your actual device. All right, so for the emulator, what we're going to want to do is open up Android Studio. So here's my Android Studio. And then you're going to want to go down here to Configure, and we can open up AVD Manager. And this will open up this tab here, displaying all of the virtual devices. So I have one virtual device here. You probably don't have one. So if you don't have one, you're going to want to go down here and hit Create Virtual Device. Now we can select any of these devices. Let's just choose the Pixel 2. We'll hit Next. We'll keep it at that operating system. That's fine. Hit Next. You can change the name if you want. Don't change any of the other settings. And then hit Finish. Once you do that, you'll see it here. Once it is here, you can hit this little play button to launch the emulator. All right, here we go. Here is my emulator. So they actually do not run the project on this Android emulator, but we're going to run it. So to do that, inside of the terminal here, if I ls, make sure you're in your project folder, and also make sure that your Xcode simulator is closed. Once you have both of those things done, go ahead and type flutter run. Now, as we can see, it is launching main.dart on our Android SDK. If we scroll up, here it's saying it's launching on the iPhone. So, as you can see, it has detected our virtual device. So I'm getting an error here. It looks like my Android emulator doesn't have the right Android SDK, and that's probably because I created this a couple of years ago, I believe. So I'm going to go through this and create a new virtual device. And let's go back into our terminal and try to run this again. All right, there we go. So as you can see, we have our same app in the Pixel emulator. And once again, we can click the button and see it change. All right, so that was how you install Flutter and set up an Android and an iOS simulator. So the final thing I want to do in this first video is set up a text editor so we can actually edit our Flutter app in a nice IDE. So we can go to the second step here, which is set up an editor. And the editor I'm going to be using is Visual Studio Code, or VSCode. So I would definitely recommend this IDE. If you haven't used it already, it's probably one of the best free IDEs available. So go ahead to their website here, visualstudiocode.com, and download the last stable version. Once you do that, go ahead and open it up. All right, so here is VS Code. Right now there is nothing in it. So the only thing we're going to do now is we want to install some extensions that will help us develop with VS Code. So if you look back here, if we go to View and Command Palette, that opens up this window up here. We want to type in install, and we want to select extensions, install extensions, this one right here. That will bring us to this search bar here, so we can search for various extensions. So we want to search for Flutter, and you're going to want to install this first one here. I already have it installed, but if you don't, simply go up here and hit install. And this gives us a bunch of nice features, such as code finishing, formatting, and this nice ability to run the app right inside of VS Code. So once you do that, we can make sure that was correct by running this flutter doctor command. And that is how we're going to end this video as well. Let me clear this out. And the final thing I want to do is run flutter doctor, and hopefully this will show us a green check for every single check. All right, there we go. So as we can see, Xcode is set up, Android Studio is set up, and what we just did, VS Code is successfully set up for Flutter app development. And right now there are no connected devices, but if you followed along, you saw that we set up an iOS simulator and an Android Studio emulator. So those are both ready to be used. Alright guys, so that concludes this first video. I know that's kind of long, but I think it was important to install everything in one video, get everything set up, and do a brief overview of what Flutter is and an overview of the entire series. So the videos going forward will not be as long. They will most likely be anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes each. I will try to get straight to the point, provide some examples, and we'll move along. So that's it for this video. I hope you learned what Flutter was, and you were able to successfully follow along and install all of these Flutter development components. And in the next video, we're going to take a look at an introduction to Dart programming.